All right, so my name is Jeff, the Big Hairy Dog, and this is a version 8 physical inventory webinar, correct? That's what we're supposed to be talking about right at the moment. So we're going to go through the basics of inventory. See if I can get this agenda. Well, I mean, we're going to go through how to start an inventory, how to take the inventory, actually, how to do it, and how to reconcile it, and then update it, right? And we're going to talk single and multi-store environments. It's the basics of what we're going to go through. Although I think I actually have an actual webinar outline.
Oh, yeah, so we need. No, so because I can connection, but the internet is so slow, it's going to take days for it to download the stuff on the phone.
But she wants to know if you can get it started and then she can monitor it from her side.
I mean, it says it's going to take like 6 days to download it and possibly if all I'm doing is pushing
So I just dropped that up on a T drive so I can be on board with everybody. And again, I usually am a little more ready, and I think we're ready to go here now. But that technical difficulty kind of put me behind the 8 ball there a little bit. I'm gonna say I was not excited about that. All right, so that is not. We're looking for this right here. There we go. Physical inventory. So that's our basic outline, which we'll dive in a little deeper than that probably. Okay, now, if you guys have any questions, and thank you, Carrie, for being the first to raise your hand and say something. Let me see. Where's my comments here? All right, so you had your hand up, but I don't see a question or a comment in the chat. But to that point, yeah, your hand is up. Hands raised. 8 seconds. All right, so if you have a question, there should be a chat there. Now, I can unmute your microphone, too. If you want me to unmute your microphone, just let me know. I can easily do that. Oh, you're muted at your end. So that's fine. You can unmute it if you want. But if you have questions, please feel free to jump in and say whatever you want to say and ask the questions. All right, so, physical inventory in version 8. Here's my inventory. I don't have much. I just threw some quantities in here so we'd have some. I've got one rogue quantity that's quite a bit higher than the other ones. That's fine, right? We have some inventory, right? To get to physical inventory, we would go to tools, more tools, right? And in the more tools, we'd see our Pro PI, right? Now, in my little outline here, it says we should talk about prep. We should talk about prep, by the way. Preparing for physical, I would say it's 85, 90% prep in physical inventory land. So you should definitely have your store clean and organized, tagged. So I'm seeing your hand raised, but I'm not seeing any question there. So if you do have a question, feel free to just drop it in that little chat. I just sent you a chat, so you can. So now, Steve, you've got your hand raised. Again, if you have a question, though, feel free to just drop it into the chat, or unmute yourself and we can chat. Oh, you can't hear. So there's background noise. Let me see if I can make that better. Thank you. Is that any better? Yeah, so can you hear? Can you hear? Oh, I know what happened. Is that better now? Thank you. Perfect. So that should be much better than it was. And in setting up my webinar, I had moved my my headset dongle to the other machine and couldn't get that one to fire. So I forgot to move it over, and you probably were listening on my laptop microphone, and it probably sounded like crap. All right, excellent, good answer. All right, so backing up here, you know, you got to be clean, you got to be prepped, you got to have all your items tagged. There's no point in counting the stuff if you're not ready. It's just a waste of time. And wait, I'm not going to go through it any more of that, but you also need to prep your store by having a plan for your count. You need to make sure you've accommodated all areas where product could be, right? So, you know, what we're talking about is like just basically a map, right? You got to draw a little, I would say, a sketch of your store and plan it out. So if your store, you know, if you have a store, don't laugh at my box, okay? And we got a front door and we got a stock room, right? And so we would then say, okay, this fixture here is fixture 1, right? So we got to have a plan. We got to map out what the sections are that we're counting, right? This is normal, by the way. I used to work at Marshall's. I was a store manager and ops manager. I was an ops manager for way too long, and I would draw maps and plan my physical inventory. Of course, the little stores are like 22,000 square feet, so you know there was a lot of zones in a lot of areas. But the point is to have a plan and be able to account. If you have 45 zones, you need to know that all 45 zones were counted, right? That's how you know you got everything. And the good idea, what we used to do, it's a really good idea too, is to draw the map, figure it all out, then give the map to somebody who's not familiar with it and have them walk the map. Just to walk it over. They're going to find something you missed, inevitably. So, all right. So, okay, enough of that. Yes, test to download. So if you have scanner devices, we all have scanner devices, hopefully. If not, you can rent them from us. But if you rent them from us, we're going to ship them to be there a day ahead of time, and then we're going to make sure they're installed and up and working, right? So if you have your own and you haven't used them for a year, do the same thing, right? Test them 2 or 3 days out. If they're not working, get a tech on the phone, get them working so that they're done ahead of time. I can't stress preparation enough here. It's a big investment to do physical inventory for time and money, and so you can't go into it not prepped, right? Okay, so I'll get off the soapbox now, right? So Retail Pro physical inventory, okay. That brings us into the physical inventory tool. I'm going to go into my options and I'm going to go into my system preferences because this is a fairly new copy of Retail Pro, this copy right here. And what I'm seeing is that I'm not set to use zones. Now, if you've done physical before and you've set yourself to use zones before, then you shouldn't have to do this step, right? But I'm gonna click right here and say use zones. I much prefer to use zones, by the way. I don't know how you do it. Okay, I do know how you do it the other way, but the people that do it in simple mode, I have a client who has 120 items in their inventory, and of those,
only about 75 or 80 are active, right? So for them, they just print out a list of inventory, they walk around the store, put some picket fences in, they walk back over, they key them in. You know, for 80 items, you could do that, right? For the rest of us that have real inventories, we're going to need to scan the stuff, and we're going to need zones, if that makes sense. So, so zones give us the ability to manage the counts. So, all right, there are 4 steps, and this does not even address that. So we're going to we're gonna add some stuff to this, right? So step 1 is to start an inventory, okay? Step 2 is to count, which involves zones, right? So zones here are fine. They look good. And actually, to that point, troubleshooting bad scans actually looks pretty fine too. Really? Okay. It shouldn't really matter, right? 3 is this discrepancy report, or in version 8 it's called differences. So you have to evaluate your differences or discrepancies, right? And you have to then last would be accepting the numbers, right? If you've got this thing handled, then you got to update. So in a nutshell, that is physical inventory right there. Start, count, discrepancies, update. That's the process. And none of those steps would repeat, if that makes any sense to you guys. All right. And it looks like we've lost Steven. All right. Okay. So Carrie, it's just you and me. That's fine too. All right. So let's go do step 1. So step 1 is to start the PI. So we go to physical inventory, we go to stores, and we click new. And it says, do you want to start one of these inventories? I'm going to start hopefully inventory 1 and click OK. Now you can give it a notes here if you want to, but I'm just going to click OK. And that's it. That's step 1. Step 1 is amazingly easy. You just go in and start it. Now what that step 1 does is it copies all of the quantities from the inventory into a count sheet. So if we go into the inventory button here in this count sheet, so we're highlighting on the count sheet, we click into inventory, we see our count sheet basically. So you can see that we have 10 on hand. Here's our on hand, right? And the 10 gets copied over to the start. Of course, we just started it. We can't have any counts yet. So we're short everything, right? Everything here in the difference column is minus. So as we make our zones and we upload them and we count our stuff, right, it's going to then put quantities in here, which is going to reduce this amount here, right? That's what's going to happen. So let's move on to step 2. Step 2 would be that we go to zones. And in zones, we have somebody scan a zone, bring us the scanner. We click new. We have to say what store it is and what zone it is. So the zone can be, it's a 5-digit value. So it can be anything you name the zone with 5 digits or less, right? So this could be, you know, whatever, San Francisco store section 105, right? Or it could just be a straight number, right? Or I could do a letter like this is the men's department and this is 100, section 100, right? In my notes here, I would put in, you know, who counted it, and I would put in, you know, what they are, maybe just like one word. You know, you need to be really specific. You need to know roughly where the zone is, what the stuff is, right? Anyway, in here, we've got three options. Portable terminal would let me upload. I don't have a portable terminal here today. Import file would let me upload account. We could play with that one. That one we could play with. Manual inventory would let me key them in. So for now, I'm just going to key a few items in, right? So if I put in item 1, and what is going on with my screen design? It's always a mess in physical inventory. Basic screen design in the list view is right-click a column header and go to Interface Page Manager. Now, in this little page manager, things above the line are in, things below the line are out. So there's far too much in this design. So we're going to take all this stuff out by dragging the line up to the top. Now, I do want to know the item and its size, maybe the UPC, the ALU, maybe, I don't know. These are all good values to know. I don't know if I need ALU. And then what I really want to know is I want to know the scanned quantity, which all the custom fields are at the bottom. So I'm going to double click scan quantity. It's going to go above the line. And now I'm probably going to want this scan quantity to be right here. And I'm probably going to want my description 1 and my description 2 and my attribute, my size to be next. And, you know, I don't know, UPC, departments and vendors, all neat stuff. But when I look at the thing, I need to know how many I scanned. I need to see my SKU, my item number on the left, right? I need to see how many I scanned and what it is first, right? And make sure I got the right item. Okay, so what if I put another one of those in? It just changes the quantity, right? All right, so I just threw some items in. That one doesn't exist, so it gets failed to scan, right? And click close. And now in the zone, I can go inside the zone. I can go into the scanned. I'm kind of curious to see what I got here. I got nothing. That's what I got. Okay, all right, I can do that. All right, let me get some doc designs into that. And by the way, if you don't have good doc designs, and what I mean by that is, let me just click print here. Let me just show you. So these are default doc designs right here. These are from Retail Pros directly. Okay, that's workable. I'm going to blow this up and make it a little bigger. But it's spending a lot of paper for each item, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know that I care about most of that data. In fact, I don't really care about any of that data. Yeah. So the problem I have with this is it's looking at the total company quantity, the whole store quantity, not the zone quantity, right? That's my problem with this right here. So so these designs that are in here at the let's see, what do we have here? Zone inventory items. Let's try that. No, it's still not working for me. Oh no, I got it. We got scan quantity 4. So we got a scan quantity here. But that's all I really care about. At the zone level, I mean, if you see what I mean here, I could have this product here on the floor, right? I could also have it back here in the stock room, right? And I could also have it in a window up front here on display. So this could be in zone 2, it could be in zone 25, and it could be in zone 100 down here, right? So knowing the total quantity the store has at this early juncture is not relevant. It's not. I need to know how many I scanned in that zone. That's what I need to know. I just need to know. So if I scan this zone and I give that zone in a printout to you, then you could go and check it, right? Now you're hearing me okay? Everything's working okay? And do you have any other questions? Let's see here. Okay, where are my questions? Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions in the questions, and I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Although your hand is raised. No, can you? Oh yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Yay!
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. There's 3 of us on this side. So Carrie, Kim, and Mike. So if it's
Excellent.
just us, if we could be unmuted, would be great.
Oh yes, please. That's always better.
This is so much easier. I know.
No, thank you. Thank you for pestering me and beating me up. Always good. I appreciate it.
This is the original Jeff, right?
This is
You know-
it's the only Jeff. Well, there was another Jeff here. He was a hardware guy. He's not with us, our company. So I'm the only
Yeah.
Jeff. Yes.
You're the only Jeff. You've done most of our training, and so we appreciate that you were doing this.
Oh, not a problem. Thanks for hanging
This is
with me.
Yeah, this is Kim, by the way, and we understand all about how to create the zones, that we're going to have to do it a certain way. It's just a kind of a refresher of going over the steps once we get the scanners and all that, which I know we'll have a few hours of tech support on that day.
Yeah,
But
definitely you want
if
to
you can
do that.
bypass the zoning as far as getting prepared, it's more like creating that scan report and how we're going to import and that kind of stuff that we need a refresher on.
Okay, so you're going to import some counts from a scanner. Gotcha.
Correct. Yeah, we're going to have the scanners delivered hopefully on the Monday prior.
Okay. Yeah. I would hope so. I would hope all that's yeah, definitely. P item zones, P item stores. Okay, let me just copy these and drop those.
All we're seeing right now is the drawing that you made.
Correct. That is all you're seeing right now. That is absolutely all you're seeing correctly. So I don't know what happened this morning with the whole my main computer would not start the webinar. It just wouldn't. I tried and I could not get it to start up. So I'm actually
Carrie couldn't get her RPro to start it this morning either, so we're all on the same page.
Well, RPro is working fine. It's just the webinar software. So I had to go back to my laptop. So, well, we can fix it probably, but so here I am. I'm on my laptop now, and I'm having to copy designs back to that installation. So I'm basically team viewered into this other computer where I was going to host it, and so I don't have doc designs, and I'm just having to paste them back in across our network here to get them.
So that we can see the report that you like. I get that.
So it can work, right? So we can skip on ahead.
Yeah.
So in that we're recording this, we do need to make sure we dot all the I's, cross all the T's, but we can speed it along, right? So here we are in a zone. Let's just print this. And what I don't have a doc design there yet. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Why don't people look at my schedule when they text me? And I mean, people are texting me, like asking me questions. Oh, item zone report, right? So, right, we're close here. BHD, physical inventory, PI stores, PI item zones. Oh, there we go. Copy. Okay, paste. Man, there's nothing worse than having technical difficulties when you're out and you're low on time. You know, but then it would never happen if you had plenty of time, right? All right, so that dots the I, crosses the T. This just gives us a printout of
much better
of what we expect right in the zone. We hand this to somebody goes and checks it. If they find it's good, they initial it and we merge it, right? So the process for a basic zone is to count it, to then upload it, to print it out, have somebody double check whatever percent you want, and if you agree with it, then we would want to merge this zone, right? So
we merge the zone.
Yeah. After.
Right. We merge the zone typically afterwards, right? So I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to grab these here. I'm going to right-click this and export this to All right, let's try clipboard. Let's see what we get in clipboard. And I'm gonna try and mimic uploading a scanner. I don't have a scanner on a virtual machine anyway, but I'm gonna try and mimic uploading a scanner, because when you are scanning product, there is the risk that you're going to get a bad scan, and we will not be able to see that, right? Unless we can upload something. So I'm gonna upload something. So let's just say we got, okay, we got some quantities, right? Now what we need to do is we need to throw a curveball in here, right? So there's our bad scan. Okay. So file, save as, and let's put this, no, I don't really want to be on the T drive. Can we just go to the desktop? And we'll call this zone 1, save, file, save as. I don't know if I need more than one of these, but it's always a good idea to make more than one while you're playing around with this, because if you do need more than one, it burns these as you use them, right? It actually renames the file, so you can't make a mistake and upload the same file twice. So it's a good idea to.
But we can do that to Excel, correct?
Yes, you can do it in Excel. Now in Excel, you're going to save it as like a CSV, right? So I'm just skipping the Excel and going right to CSV, comma separated values, right?
Right.
CSV.
Yeah,
So yes,
I want to make sure.
if you're manually uploading any group of items, then yes, you want to get into Excel. You want to be very careful with things like leading zeros. Excel will drop them, right?
Yes.
So you got to be very careful on your formatting. You want to save it as CSV. And so now I'm going to back up to the main menu here, and let's go back to options, system preferences, and let's add a new. I'm just going to call this. Can I get in there? Can I name it? Let's see here. Okay, so item quantity. I don't know. That's all that's in there, right? So beginning on, and so in here, beginning on character 1 through character 6, right? So beginning on character 1, end on character 6 for a length of 6, right? Our count, we skip 7. 7 is the comma, right? So a count starts on 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, potentially 5 digits. So that's probably infinity, right?
Yes.
Okay, I don't.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm building an item map for a manual import, right? So I can mimic what it would be like to be using a scanner, right? So we're going to go in now to physical zones, and we're going to upload this. So I'm going to say this is new, and this is store 1, and this is zone 2. And yeah, sure, Jeff scanned it, and it's I don't know, shorts, whatever. All right, so click OK. Now here you see this is the import screen. Now, portable terminal would be that I'm plugging in and I'm hitting download. I don't have one of those, but I can make it look like I have one by going in here, and I'm going to select. Let's see here. Get out of the PI tool. Go to the desktop. PI. Where are we here? Desktop. Perfect. Should be right here. A text file, right? We just put them there. Zone. So if I name these correct, if I'm on zone 2, I want to upload zone 2, right? So there's zone 2, open that, click import file. And
we're gonna do this part. Okay.
And close. Okay, so see the red dot. So the red dot indicates that there was an error. I was expecting a prompt, but it did not give me one. But if you see a red dot, that zone cannot be merged. So if I try to merge this, it's grayed out. It says, no, you can't merge this, right? Because this has one bad scan in it, right? So if I go to my errors, what I see is I see the bad scan. That's the one I typed in, right? I typed it in between item 7 and 8. So it's now showing me the bracketed items. So if you scan a UPC code that's not in Retail Pro by accident in a zone, it's going to pop up like that in the error
Yes.
screen, and then we would want to print this, and either we print it like this, right, which is fine, by the way, using this zone grid report. It gives you the bad scan, the import ID. Let's make this bigger. This has got to be just a bitch to see. So we can see our import ID and how many we scanned, and we can see what it's between, right? The item before and the item after. Now, let me just give you a little pop quiz thing here. If we're scanning items, there's a good scan, there's a good scan, there's a good scan, there's a bad scan. There's a good scan, there's a good scan, there's a good scan. What are the bracketing items? What's it going to show on?
789 and 123.
Except that it would show 789 and 741. Why would it not show 123?
Well, I don't know.
Huh.
The job of a scanner is to count SKUs. It's not going to create a new record in the scanner. It's just going to say, oh, by the way, you have 2 of those, right? So this record in the scan list is not going to exist.
Got it.
So my point is, when you see this, report here, it is between those 2, but there may be 10 other items between them, right?
Yes.
Based on merchandising standards, vertical blocking, same items on the left side, the same items on the right side for 4 shelves. It could be on any one of those shelves, right?
Yeah. Okay. So how do you find it?
Well, I mean, okay, so you still have a zone. Like, we still know it's in that zone, and we know it's between this item and that item. So order of scanning is very important here. We always scan left to right, top to bottom, right? So it's still, I mean, this is a trail of breadcrumbs. It's much better than hey, go and look in that section for this item, right? Now at least we know it's near these 2 items. And it could be more than one item, or it could be right between, but it's around these items. So
Got it.
now if we have a scan error and we go find it, one of 2 things happens. Either it's got a barcode or it don't, right? Those are the choices. So if it has a barcode, then we say great and we fix it, right? So I could just go like that. I could just click edit here and say, okay, we're going to make this be that item there, right? And we're going to press enter, and it would say, hey, are you sure you want to do this, right? Option two is it does not have a barcode, right? If it does not have a barcode, then we would first off pick the item up, take the item physically out of the zone, remove it from the zone, put it into a trouble area where somebody else will be retagging our trouble children, right? And so if it's not going to be counted in that zone, then we would be deleting it, right?
Yes.
We're not holding the whole show up for one mistagged item, right? It moves into a zone, and we'll scan that zone last because we'll have the whole physical inventory for somebody to retag that stuff. So either way, I don't care. Whatever works. Get rid of the thing. Then go back to scanned, right? So we leave errors. Once we fix our errors, we go to scanned. We print that thing out, right? The whole thing out now, right? And then we have somebody double check to whatever degree you feel is appropriate. Like, honestly, if they're leather jackets, I might do the whole rounder, but if they're tubes of chapstick, I don't even know if I'm going to count them, you know?
Right.
I mean, you know, you gotta use your good common sense here, right? So if somebody goes and checks it and they said, everything I checked looks good, the red dot's gone, we fix the error, merge the zone, right? Now, I like to merge them as I go. Some people like to just mark them and merge the whole store at once. But I like to check them off. I like the blue check box. So if I had a new zone, if I had a whole list of other zones in here, right? And let's just do this. Yeah, so if I have zones in here like that, right? And I have like dozens of these things in there, it'd be nice to know which ones are done, which ones have been double checked, right? And the blue dot tells me it's been double checked. So that's just how I land usually. All right, so
And
then you merge them, right? So the scanner, what kind of scanners do you have?
whatever you guys send us.
Okay, so the ones we send you, right, are either the PT or the JANM, and both of those have to get reset. So what I want to do is pop back over to here and say, okay, so So in this section here, basically, one A is to scan the zone, right? B is to upload. C is to clear the scanner, right? D is
Yes.
to fix errors, right? E is to print the zone.
Right.
F is to double check, again, whatever is appropriate here, right?
Right.
And G would be to merge, right? That's the steps.
Mhm.
Now it's terribly important that we clear the scanner. If we don't clear the scanner, what happens?
Then it just adds it to the next time that anybody scans it.
Correct. And then we have to
The
go back,
zones will be.
and then if we uploaded it twice and it's mixed into zone 3, then we got to go delete zone 2. But now to troubleshoot zone 3, it's now got zone 2 and 3 in it, and you're like, what the hell? This is a lot more
Right.
to troubleshoot. That's why we make zones, to make small, manageable sections we can troubleshoot easy, right? So
Mhm.
Anyway, that's why I just wanted to pause and make sure I got this point here to clear the scanner. Now, the PT, well, you'll get instructions when they get them and they hook them up. They'll tell you exactly how to clear it. It's pretty easy to clear the zone though. From the main menu
Yeah.
on the PT, it's just F3, 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 and the Janum is you click the scan button at the top and go to options, preferences, and it says delete all scans, and that's pretty easy too. So, all right, so we've got some zones. I guess I should now. Nice. Let's just miss these. Weird. All right. So if we have to modify one of these zones, up until we merge it, we can continue to modify it, right? Now, if we find that we made a mistake in here after it's merged, to fix that, we would have to go over to the store side, go to the merge zone list, and here we could then select one of these zones and unmerge it. So we could unlock that thing, then go back into zones, and now I could edit it, right? Now I could go into scans, and I could edit these quantities and make them be different if I want to. I should be able to. Oh, so physical. Okay, so that's my fault. Screen design again. The screen designs for physical inventory, hopefully yours are already dialed in because you've done this before, right? But
They should be, but I'll look into it.
they're just really on it, and this is a completely new blank install, so yes, it's wacky. So now I should be able to change this if I wanted to, right? And I can. At this point, I don't even need the physical quantity, because if this is one zone of many, there could be additional product in other places, right? So,
Mhm.
all right, so save, back out, merge that zone again. I can also, if I need to here, if I need to go into scanned, and I need to, like some people like to do what I just did. They add all the zones. As soon as they hit start, they just go and add the zones. They go to manual, they close them. Then if somebody walks up and you've already got the zone created and they say, I got zone 125 here, you would go into scans. Then you just go to add counts to get the upload prompt, right? Then I could say,
So that would add to that zone if somebody else came through with a scanner within the same zone. I can put them together.
yeah, correct. You could add to that. Well, you could create the zone blank up front and then have it ready to be uploaded when you're there, and this would add the counts the
Right.
only time. Or yes, like I was on site at a store, very sharp guy. He's passed away and his store is closed, but he was downtown Sacramento, a men's suit store, and he sat there in the middle of the store, looked at a zone and said, the middle shelf on that zone didn't get scanned. We're like, what? And he's like, yeah, that whole shelf did not get scanned. Just literally looking at the difference report, he could tell exactly. He knew his inventory so well. He was amazing, a good
Holy
retailer.
smokes.
Anyway,
We're
so
not going to be that good.
we walked over, we scanned that shelf, and we went and added the counts to that zone, and
Yeah.
that's what had to happen.
Add the count.
Right. So I'm going to change this here because we know that there's other files waiting there on the desktop for us. Right. I'm going to click import and close and back up, and now it's got the red dot because I had that red herring in there. Right. I had that wild item. So So if we go to our errors, we find the errors, we would print this out, we would find it, we would either fix it or delete it. So we'll click at it and fix it this time since we deleted it last time. And okay. And then you want to, it'll fix itself as soon as we refresh. So as soon as you click off that row, it'll be absorbed. So
Okay,
now,
can you go back to real quick how if somebody comes up and they're saying, you know, I've got something in zone 125,
you want,
exactly how you added. So
okay.
you just click
So
on the zone.
you highlight the zone, you go to scanned, then you go
Okay.
to add counts.
Add counts right there. Okay, I just need to get that in my notes.
No, excellent question. Excellent question. And the mouse is faster than the eye, right?
Yes.
So that's exactly how you do it, right? All right, so if that's then good, we verified that zone, everybody's happy with it, we merged the zone, we have all of our zones counted, so step 2 is done, right? If we've completed all of our uploads and we've got all of our zones on our map handled, then and they're all merged, then we can now move on to step 3. Now, a very important point in the process is that basically after step 2, I'm going to put a little line here. You could open the store.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's a very important point to make here. Is that when you click start, you freeze the soft copy. When you count the stuff, you freeze the hard physical items, right? So
Yes.
if there's a discrepancy, there's a discrepancy. Doesn't matter. So now let's talk about what happens with the update process. So when we update, we have an item, a given item, whatever. We have a start quantity, right? We have a count. We have a difference, right? We have the on hand, right? So whatever, we'll just pick on some item. We'll say we started with 10. So when we start the thing, we have no count yet, right? When we first started, so we're minus 10, and we have 10 on hand, right?
Correct.
And so for that same item, then we go out and we count 8, for instance. Then this would change to 8. This would change to minus 2. The on hand would still be 10, right? Okay, so when we update, the update is going to be, and let's see if this works here. I know it does, but the update, then the new quantity, right? The new quantity after update will be equal to the current on hand plus the difference. So the count we made is irrelevant. Nobody cares about the count. We only care about the difference.
Correct.
Okay. So does that work? -2 plus 10, that works, right? So now, if we open the store after step 2, and we're still doing checks on the floor, right? And somebody buys one of these things, right? Then it's going to look like this, right? It's going to still look like that. It's still going to look like that. It's still going to be like that. But on hand is going to change, right?
Right.
So this
Correct.
up here still works, though, right?
Yes.
Right. The only issue that we ever get is if you open the store too soon and somebody buys one before you count it.
Before it's merged.
No, before you count it. So
just before it's counted. Okay.
right. So if I was going out to count this item and somebody bought one, then the item would still be the same. The start would be the same. I would only be able to count 7 because somebody bought one, right? We would have a -3 and we would have a 9 here, right? Now, does this equation work? Does 3 plus -3 plus 9 equal 7?
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
No.
6.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's the.
And then what's happening here is
Because-
the receipt
okay.
took the item, and since we didn't count it, the physical inventory's taken the item. So we're double dipping.
Yeah.
So, but if you're open, and I don't think you are, but if you're open during the count, you got to count the items you sold, and you got to know which ones were sold pre-count and post-count, right? That's the bitch right there.
What we're going to run into.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so if you're open, you want to make a
We're
plan.
going to be closed.
Okay, then we don't care about that conversation.
We're going to be closed unless it goes into the next day.
Well, right, but if it goes into the next day, so you hit the floor first, you get the floor pretty nailed, and if there's anything left over, you come in early the next morning, you finish that up, because you could count the stock room after you're open. Ain't nobody shopping the stock room.
Which
Or
we're gonna
before.
do it reverse. Yeah. Yes. Before we close, we do the stock rooms. is
Or
how
we can
we've
do it after. Either way.
generally done
We
it.
don't finish.
Either
Yeah.
way, right? But there's ways to mitigate
should
that,
think about
right?
that,
To
though.
manage that process. Or I had another store that would count the stock room, right? And then they would close the store, and they would run a sales report, export that to Excel, and import that as a count, because everything they
Yeah.
sold on the floor that day was in the start. So they just
Correct.
start by just uploading that and saying, look, all those are handled. Then they hit the floor.
Yeah.
There's ways around it, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, well, the tricky part is if you're still counting the next day, again, you'd have to know what items were not counted. That's the hard part. That's the bitch part.
Yep. It's all about the zone.
Yeah, it's about managing that process. Yeah.
And I'm pretty good. I'm good with the zone part.
Right,
If
you're
you're
great.
good with the
Yeah.
computer,
Okay,
Yeah, that's
so
why
we're a good
we'll
team.
make this work.
Yeah.
makes a good team. Does. All right. So then we would go to discrepancy, right? So we would click into the store side. So we get out of zones, we go back to stores, we click discrepancy. It isolates all of our discrepancies. And of course, I only have a dozen items in my damn inventory, so it's pretty fast. And then we would click print, and we would choose one of our discrepancy reports, right? So this one's by department, that one's by vendor. That's just a list of them. So it depends on what you want. I like the one by department. These are all the same department, but you see how the department subtotals here, right? So it would
Can you
break.
make it big?
Oh yeah, totally. Can make it big, yes. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Is that big enough?
Oh yeah. Okay, that's great.
Right. So each department should have a little subtotal, and it should break like that, and then go to the next department, so that you can then, hey, Susie is doing this department and Johnny is doing that department, right, or whatever. Check for your discrepancies. All mine are over because I had I got one short. I got item 2 there is short because I had 45,000. Yeah, so somebody made a mistake there,
Yeah.
right? But so I have one shortage and a lot of overage. But it's a big shortage. So
But really what you're looking for on this is the difference in quantity
yeah, you're
to
looking
make
to
sure it's
verify.
not so outrageous that you really want to.
Well, I mean,
double
I
count.
would go out to the floor like this one that says 45,000.
Yeah.
I might see that one as rogue, but this one up here, for instance, this red large, I would probably say there's no way I got 1,093. Somebody needs to go check that out and tell me what I really have, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you're looking for the glaring.
Well, you're looking for anything that looks wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
first off, you're looking for large dollar amounts, right? You're looking for things that have high dollar price points. And if I'm missing one on a leather jacket that's $600, I'm going to go check it.
Yes.
So
Got it.
you're looking for things that are costing you tons of money or that are obvious, glaring mistakes. Where that somebody like they scanned item 1093 into the count column. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or something stupid like that. That's just so then we want to fix those. Now in this version, you can fix them right here. So here I believe I can just go in and change my count, right? So a store physical, store start, store difference.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Right, see, so this goes away in version 9, but people love this. I'm just gonna say people love this. So you can do it.
Yeah. We like that I can go in and change it right there instead of having to whatever.
The downside to it is there's no audit trail.
Yeah, but it's just me.
Correct. So you're good. Nothing to worry about, right? Just don't make any mistakes, right? Because you got no audit trail. You can't back up. You can't review your changes.
Right.
And bigger companies have used to beat up version 8. Version 9 makes you and the version 9. Basically what you do is you make a zone and you just count that same item at a negative quantity, which you can't really do that in V8. It's not really practical. You can, but it's awkward and painful. So there's no point in going over it. But in version 9, you can actually count at negative quantities in a new zone. So you can say, take this item, take back 1,000 of these, right?
Yeah.
Then you create an audit trail and it corrects the quantity all at once, and it's one quick edit. So right now your one quick edit is to just go in here, right, and just fix these right here, just to fix them.
Fix it once it's verified before you actually merge that zone.
Right. No. This is the difference. I'm in the difference screen here. We're way
You're
past.
discrepancies.
We're,
Yeah.
I'm in
Sorry, got
differences,
it.
and we're just right here in differences, and I'm just literally clicking edit, and I'm fixing these right here
So that's before you update.
before you update, right? So
Yeah.
people could take the printout, they go out, they check things, they say, okay, this one is not 1,093. We only had 6 of these, so I just go in and change that one to 6, right? That's what I just did.
Yeah.
So I'm just changing these to whatever I need to change them to, right? So there's my store, there's my start, there's my physical. So I should be able to click right here. I should be able to say, nope, I only had 7 of those. I went out and verified, I only had 8 of those, right? Boom. And of course, that's why I can't see that 1,093, because when I fixed it and I escaped and came back to discrepancies, those items that I just fixed no longer qualify as a discrepancy, right?
Correct.
Because they're fixed now, so they're good.
Okay.
So print this whichever way works for you, by vendor, by department, whichever, it doesn't matter, right? Fix them, fix your mistakes. Once you're sure that all those are fixed, then you want to update this physical. Now, before we update, let's say we have a rogue item that I'm not trusting the count on. If I go back into zones and I go into inventory, and I normally here at this point would filter for the item. I don't have enough items to bother filtering here. I got nothing here, right? So there's an item zone report that you should have this design in your installation. If you don't, I can get it to you. But item zone report and preview, and what this thing does is it takes the item and shows every zone it was scanned in and how many was scanned in each zone.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Well, we had a guy that had 3 jackets in Fairbanks, Alaska, and he looked at his discrepancy report. It said 63 jackets, and he's like, "What? There's 3 jackets." He looked in the zone. There's 3. Looked on the fixture. There's 3. Looks in the discrepancy report. There's 63. He's got over 100 zones. So which other zone is the rogue zone
Where
that's
are
adding?
there other ones?
Well,
Yeah.
it turned out it was a jewelry counter. They counted 60 jackets in the jewelry counter, which I think is physically impossible. But the other question, of course, that begs is what did you have at a quantity 60 that didn't get counted when you fat fingered that, right? Because that item is another item, and which one's more expensive, the jacket or the jewelry item? I don't know.
Right.
So once he figured out what zone it was, then he was able to unmerge it and go correct it, right? And that's what this is really for. Now you can see that this thing, the layout of this thing, it takes a good inch plus for every item. So it'll be 4,000 pages if you don't filter it, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't have to filter it because I got 15 items. So for me it's no big deal. But normally, yeah, we would just go into our filtered view and say we're looking for item 8 or whatever we're looking for. We'd find the item number and say 828, right? Limit it to the one that we're interested in figuring out. Click item zone report, OK, and preview, and it would just show us what item 8, where it was counted, and how many was in each zone, and we'd know where we made the mistake then, right? So that's
Yep.
the right way to use that little trick. But that's a really handy little trick to know about. So you have to go into zones, you have to go into inventory, zones inventory, before you'll see the item zone report. And if you don't have that zone, let us know. We can get you the thing easy.
Okay.
All right, so we've done step 1, step 2, step 3. So now we're down to step 4. So step 4 would be to accept the variance, right? So we would go into zones and, we'd go into stores and we would go to update and check off our store, click next. And of course, this is wrong. This default's wrong. I logged it as a bug. They said it was a bug and that they would fix it in V9. They did fix it in V9 and subsequent versions. But you can't leave it here, right? You can't do only items with the physical count, right? Because if you have an item that you had a starting quantity of 2 and you didn't count it because you don't have it, it does not have a count. Therefore, the shortage will pass through into your next physical. So you got to update all items to get it to go to 0.
Okay. And that's in the multi-location, got it, inventory update. Okay.
Right, that's in the update. So that's the second screen. So we check off our store, click next. It says, how do you want to update? All items or only items with a count. It needs to be all items. the only items with a count is like if I wanted to do a physical inventory on 6 unrelated items from 6 different vendors in 6 different departments, and I only want to update the things that I counted, I would do only items with a count, right? That's it.
Right.
That's how I would do it. And just
So
update.
it's almost like doing an interim count sheet in that kind of thinking, correct?
Well, I mean, it is. Whether you're doing a full physical or a filtered physical, like a cycle count,
Right.
if you didn't count it, you don't got it. It's got to go to 0.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
got to update all.
So that would be like a cycle count. You would only do the only items I counted, but doing a full physical, you have to do all items.
No, cycle or all, full physical. The difference is only once we pick our reason code, we pick okay, I don't have one, so I'm gonna say.
Okay.
So the difference between a physical and a full physical is only that right here, I would filter my I only have one department, sorry. I would filter, if I'm only doing men's tees, then I would filter the update to only affect men's tee, but I would still update all items within men's tees. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
I'm pretty much always updating all items. But in a cycle,
Got
it's just I'm only updating a small section that I counted. I'm not going to if I didn't count women's tees, I'm not going to update them all to 0.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
the only difference, really, is a cycle count has a filter and a full physical doesn't.
Hmm.
So we click OK. It says it's been updated and our quantities have been changed. And of course, when it does that change, it then of course writes an adjustment memo, right? It has to write adjustments for everything it does. So there's my memo
Yeah.
for physical inventory that we created just now. If we need to see that physical again, right, back in the physical tool, we can now go to archived and we could go to stores and we would see that physical. And in here we could unarchive it. We could have a do-over. Now,
Okay.
if we
Good.
unarchive it, it's going to make another adjustment memo undoing the first one. And then when we make corrections to it and re-update it, it'll make a third one, right? Now
For the entire inventory, not by zone. We're talking the entire inventory.
Yep.
Updating, right?
Well, I mean, the first adjustment memo and the second one are exact opposite copies of each other, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they just wash each other out. So it really doesn't matter. But yes, the whole physical will be unarchived. All the adjustments will be taken back. Then you'll go, like if you forgot to count an entire stock room in the corner or something, and you need to just go add multiple counts to this thing. Yeah, unarchive it, go finish it, then re-update it, and only the third one will stand. The other two will wash each other out.
Okay. Got it.
So
okay.
So
that's if there's problems, call Jeff.
Yeah, that's absolutely just if there's problems, call Jeff. Yeah, it's not a problem. Right now, you have one store or multiple stores?
Two.
Two.
Right. So then.
But let me tell you, Jeff, what we're going to do real quick. Oh no, wait a minute. You're recording. Never mind. We have two stores, but we're only counting one store in this physical inventory.
That's fine then. So, but if it's the remote store, then when you update, it's going to prepare the file, right?
Yes.
So that's what I wanted to remind you of, is in here in the physical stores, when you update, it's not going to actually update. It's going to put it into polling, right? And then it's going to send it back to the main, and then you go into the PI tool and it imports it when you open the PI tool. So you don't want to have the PI tool already open at the main. Not that you would. Who would do that? But anyway,
right.
When you go in, you should see that PI. It should import in there, and then you should be able to see it, and then you would update it and send the results back. And in the subsequent versions, they make that step optional. So in version 9, you can let the remote store update their own physical if you choose to. Or you can keep control of it. But that's the important thing I have to mention here, right? So
yes.
And with version 8, it's not a bad idea if you're doing the remote store to initialize inventory in the days preceding. Like you could do it the morning of, but I would say do it like 4 days ahead of time.
Does that make sense?
And you know why we're talking about doing initialization?
Can you explain it real quick just to make sure
Yeah.
we all understand it?
Yep, totally. Yep, absolutely. So polling in version 8 is pretty damn good, but with every version, honestly, with version 6 we thought it was the best, and then we found a bunch of mistakes in version 7, and they were fixed, of course, and then in version 8 we found more mistakes, and in version 9 we found that version 9 polling works even better, and the Prism version 10, whatever you want to call it, is a step above that. So anyway, there's the chance that when I look in inventory here at the main, and I look at the inventory quantities, which I'm not seeing the button, but if I'm looking at the inventory quantities, right, it might be that I think there's 0 and 7, but when I look in the other store is 0, say, they see a 2, and then they see a 7. So that they may have a mistake in polling, that the quantities may not be right. Now, if they start the inventory with those incorrect numbers, they're going to get incorrect shrinkage.
Correct.
So over the course of a whole year, you could have accrued a few mistakes, right? In the course of 2 or 3 days, odds are that polling is not going to make a mistake in 2 or 3 days. Polling is outstanding in version 8. It doesn't make many mistakes, but occasionally that does make mistakes. In version 9, they added confirmation files. So in version 8, if it sends the file, like the quantity changes over and that file becomes corrupt, there's no safety net for it to say that we didn't get this file. In version 9, they fixed that. So there's a chance that maybe one of the inventory updates didn't make it to the remote store during the course of the year. So to fix that, and you could do it the morning of, but if you do it the morning of physical, it's just that much more you got to do before you can start counting, right? And I fully believe that version 8 polling is extremely solid. So what I would say is that do it 3 or 4 days ahead of time, right? Now, if we go to polling, and in polling we go to our stations, and I don't even have a station, so let's make a quick station, new station 001A, password 001A, polling by internet, and let's see if can we save that. Beautiful. All right. So now,
So those should already be done.
so you'd go in, you'd find your station file. You down here on the sidebar menu, you click initialize, right? And then for that station, we would initialize just the inventory, right? Hang on a quick second. All right. So anyway, Ken needed something. Ken takes care of us, so I have to take care of Ken, right?
Take care of Ken every time.
That's right. He takes care of all of us. So you don't want to click this, because if you click this here, you'll get everything. And I don't need to send vendors over. I don't need to send scales over, right? So I'm just going to send inventory over. And now I'm weird. I can't not click prices. If I'm sending over inventory, I got to send over prices. It's just me. I just don't feel like you can not send the whole set, right? Now, what's that going to do? So let's say, you see these people like down here, they're beating me up here. They want me to chat, and they can see in the schedule that I'm on a webinar. So whatever. I'm not opening up a chat on a webinar. That's just stupid.
You're
right?
an unwanted person.
Right. All right. So let's talk about what happens. Okay. So let's say that the remote store has 10, right, and that they sell, right. They sell a bunch of these. So they sold, I don't know, they sold 5, right? So they sold 5 of these. So now they're on hand now is now at 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
We initialize them. When we initialize them, they're going to go to 10 again, aren't they?
Why?
We overwrote their quantity from the main. So what's happening here? Let me see if I can draw you a picture.
I get it. I get what you're talking about now.
Right. See, so new, get this crap out of the way. So we've got the main store, we got the remote store, right? So they're selling stuff, minus. They're selling stuff. We decide to initialize this inventory file over. It overwrites their inventory file, puts them back at 10, right? Now,
Right.
what's going to happen is tonight, these sales where we made these minuses are going to push back to the main. We're going to make the same minuses in our inventory. Then that gets processed out as an inventory difference that goes back to the remote, and tomorrow it corrects itself, right?
Correct.
So that's why I said do it like 2 or 3 days in advance, right? Like you
Yeah.
want to have time for the correction to catch up. So you need at least 2 polling cycles, right? Well, 1 polling cycle after you make the change. But I would want to do it like if I was doing physical on Friday, I'd want to do it by Tuesday or Wednesday, right? I would give it 2 or 3 days to make sure it's fully caught up, because it's not going to make a mistake in 2 or 3 days. It's just not. So,
Yeah, I get it. I don't think it's really going to affect us, but it's good for us to understand the way it all works.
right, it's just a good idea, because at the end of the day, if the remote said they had 12 and the main thought they had 10, the difference would be based on the starting quantity of 12, not 10. You follow?
Correct.
So
Yes.
if it said they were short 5, but they were only short 3, it would take 5 out, even though it only needed to take 3 out, but it would take 5 off 10, because the update's happening at the main, not the remote.
Right.
So it's just an important little thing to understand about remote stores, and it's something that's so easily done, since you could do it ahead of time and be ready way ahead of time, a week ahead of time. Who cares? 5 polling cycles is probably not going to create a mistake, and then you'd know if there was. So yeah, I would say that. Okay, so then are there any other questions you guys have about any of this? Because the only other thing I would want to cover would be basic reporting on physical inventory after the fact. I don't know if you guys do that or not.
Please go over it
Okay,
if
so
we have time.
we have time. We've got more time than we can burn. We've got
Okay.
we've got 43 minutes, and I doubt seriously that we're going to need 43 minutes. But so when I was in retail, I feel like ancient, because when I was in retail was now 25 years ago.
And Retail Pro is 25 years old. So
Yeah, I wasn't using Retail Pro because I was a store manager at Marshall's, and Marshall's uses their own software. But it's a junk shop. Marshall's a big junk shop. I mean, items come and go like the wind, right? So they wouldn't be able to use
Ugh.
Retail Pro. They just barely define the SKU in the system. So, all right. So in adjustments, right? If I said make a new adjustment report that's for quantities. Normally I do this at the department level, but I'm going to do it at the item level because I only have one department, so that it would kind of miss the point, right? So I'm going to say PI items ranked. So usually I rank my department, and then I rank the items underneath that to take a look at what happened, right? So in our sort here, we are at the item level, so we want to see items. So let's just say never have what you want when you want it, right? There it is. So item number. That's my grouping level, my level of detail that I'm reporting on are items, right? Now that would put them in numeric order, right?
Yes.
But I don't want them in numeric order, and I'll show you what I mean in a sec. So item number, department code. You can't click the bottom item, it gets weird. Vendor code, description 1, description 2, attribute size. Okay, I need to know what the hell this item is, right? And I need to know the difference in quantity, right? And maybe, and probably also, maybe more importantly, the difference in cost, right?
Yes.
So that's probably the bigger one. Then I would go into ranking, and I would say first by cost, then by quantity, right? And then let's just click save and let's click print. And let's just change this to today. Now, normally here, I would need to go and filter by physical inventory, right? I would need to say physical. This is a blank copy of Retail Pro, but I guess I should type it in there. Right, so we're filtering, I can't type in there. It hasn't pushed into the report yet,
Yeah.
but we only have one reason code. But, all right, so let me blow this up a little bit so we can understand what's going on here. Now, most of my because I have crap inventory here, right? I have almost nothing. Most of my inventory differences are positive, right? So what this report's doing, because I reversed the rank, I went backwards. So it's showing me the item that cost me the most on top.
Got it.
And then what would happen in a real report with real items, it would start at the highest thing, the thing you lost the most dollars on, because I did by cost then by quantity, right? And then it would come down to 0, and then it would start going back up again, right? That's what would happen.
Got it.
So I do this by departments to first identify which department I lost the most in, and then I do it by item, and I filter for that department to see within that department what the hell was it that I lost, right? Because I need to know. And you can do it by style level or by item level. You can build this report any way you want, right?
Got it. I built some reports, but you do it so much quicker and easier. It seems like I'm.
Oh no, I've just been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
If
You make
did-
it look easy.
Well, you know, I mean,
The run what, somewhat not reported little box kind of pops up all the time.
oh, that's easy though. All that is in the total section. If you
Yep.
if so, this is when, and these are all whats. These are all whats down here.
Right.
If you have a when, you need a what. That's it. So,
But if you don't have a win, it won't give you that error.
right, if you don't have a when, then you can't have a what, right? So if I do this, which I wouldn't do, but all right, so let's go back to layout, and let's say that in my sort, let's go to my sort. Let's say that in my sort, I was going to do store. This is another variation on a theme, right? If we say find store here, right? And I say first group this by store on top, right? And then we add store to this thing here. Okay, so store, maybe store code, you know, to make it really colorful here, probably the same thing, but all right, whatever. All right, so
Yeah.
now if I go down to my totals, I would say when am I going to subtotal by store, right? And then what am I subtotaling? It would be both items, right? Now, what am I run totaling? Now, a running total is a cumulative total, right? So do I care what store 1 plus store 2 is, and then what store 1 plus store 2 plus store 3 is, then plus 1, 2, 3, and 4 is? You follow? A running total.
Kind of.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me give you an example of a running total. A running total would be good for any report having to do with time. I said, show me my sales by month. I'd like to see the sales for January and the sales year to date, the sales for February and the sales year to date. Year to date includes January and February, right? That's a running
Yes.
total. So this report needs no running total. Now, if I was doing all the stores, I damn well would want a grand total. And the grand total is not tied to the what thing. So the when and what is just the top 3 boxes. This bottom is standalone. This is either on or off, doesn't care.
Okay.
So
Got it.
now if I run this report again, and why is it stuck in 1998? What's going on there? It's
That's when
weird.
retail pros. That's the reporting.
All right, so now you see that it is still ranked within the store, right? But the stores are not ranked. Stores would be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? They'd be in their natural order, and the items within would be ranked.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, you know, the little bonus there in reporting. But yeah, I create a bunch of those reports. I have in version 9, unfortunately, you lose that ability to do a quick like create a report on the fly thing, you know, because that's one of the cool things about version 8. But you know, it's
See,
both
that's
a
why we're
blessing.
sticking with 8 for now.
Well, it's both a blessing and it's a curse too, because
Yeah.
in version 8, everybody makes 10,000 reports and they use 25 of them.
Uh-huh.
You know
And
what I
there's
mean?
so many system administrative reports that you can't just get rid of.
Well, you could change the the access. You could change that from sysadmin to anything you want, right? And you could
Mhm.
actually You could actually, yeah, you could get rid of those. You could, so what, to get rid of them, what you'd do is you'd take one of the levels, like 2 or something, and take it out of your security so that you can't see any report at level 2. Then you would go into reports as an admin and change the level on the reports you don't want to see to level 2, right? That would get rid of them out of your menu. Yeah, that's pretty easy
We
to do.
have to do that.
I'll play around with that. I'll play around with that. Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
you see what I did in version 9, right? I just hopped over to the other PC, but you see here, PI by DCS, right? I got ranked by top 10. I got ranked per store. I did all these same reports we're talking about by style level, by item level, by vendor, ranked by vendor. So because we lose the ability to make these on the fly, so I have to pre-build all of them in version 9. But I don't think we care about version 9. So we're just going to move
Not
that back
yet,
out.
but you're proving why we're still at 8.
Eight's a solid product. Honestly, they thought 5 was the last version, and then expanded memory came out, and they made 6, and then Windows took over the whole world, so they made 7 and 8, and the migration to Windows, and then they realized that their database was encrypted and it needed to be what's called ODBC, Open Database Connectivity. That's only if you're connecting to other software, which you're not. That's why they made version 9. And then, of course, the migration now is everything's going to the web-based reporting, right? Everything is going to like web-based applications. Like people want to make sales on a tablet in their hand, right? So that's what the newest version is about. Prism is about going to a web-based environment. So,
But if we're happy with 8, we should stay with 8.
if you're happy with 8, it's not broke. I don't see any reason to fix it. You know what I mean? Now, that being said, let me just drag this back over here on the other computer. I'll just do one thing here. I don't want to waste your time, but I'm just going to grab this report here and run this report right here. So in version 8, by the way, amazing version for its time, right? It was truly at the time, and what you can do with reports is truly amazing.
Yeah, you can do anything.
You can do a ton with it, right? So what I want to do, well, you can't do anything. So here's what you can't do, right? So this report here, which I just ran it wide open and probably didn't get the best items as far as presentation goes. But this report here is looking at what I sold last year and what I sold this year, right? It's looking at my on hand, it's looking at my on order, it's looking at the sales I made from last year in the next 70 days from this date last year, right? Then it's taking the sales from the last 70 days, subtracting the on hand and the on order to give me this quantity needed column. So it tells me how many I need to buy to make the same sales from last year's next 70 days.
Huh.
Right. Pretty cool, huh? Because I can do math in Crystal.
Yeah, if shipping was not a nightmare, we knew when we were getting items in.
Yeah,
Correct. Right now with COVID, almost everybody, people used to run 15, 30 days back order windows, because if it's older than a month, it's not coming. Now it's like, what, 3, 4 months, 6 months?
6, 7, we've seen it all.
some things are back ordered 7, 8 months, and other things we're getting them now that we were supposed to get in August.
Yes, correct. In the on order window, in fact, I just had a client who was complaining that Auto PO was ordering things that were already on order, and his on order window, which I'm not going to go pull up Auto PO, but his on order window was only looking back 60 days, right? So, dude, the PO that you're trying to compare it against is from June. Yeah, you need to run around 300 and start 210 or something, right? You need to go back. You need to go back like that to see all the POs that are out there, because you're not.
Yeah.
You know, you're missing it, dude. Yeah, if you don't let it see the PO, it's going to reorder. That's true. That's a true statement.
Yeah, and the problem with running with a remote store where Carrie's offices and she does the buying is she cannot create a PO with item numbers.
Well, okay, so that one, now you've now touched on the one thing that might benefit you in version 9. In version 9, you can decide who's in charge as far as building items and POs. Now, there is a limited number of things that have to be made at the main, but you could choose which one's the main. So, for instance, I could have my main office at store 1, for instance, and I could have a remote store at store 2, but I could say store 2 is in charge of making vendors. So vendors,
You can't
departments,
do that in 8, right?
no, you can't do that in A. No, in version 9, you get to decide, there's a whole section in polling that decides who's in charge of what. So there is no real main in version 9. What we're talking about here is polling. We're talking about ECM, or Enterprise Communication
Right.
Manager, in
Right.
version 9. But in version 9, I'm just going to point at what I'm talking about here. I don't need to go through the whole freaking training for polling, but in here, you see, here's our checklist. This is the old, you know what a checklist is. Do I send receipts to that store or not, right? That's all that is.
Right.
This is what's new down here, right? See, so you can say I manage this or I don't manage this. So this is a remote store config right here. If this was a main, these would be unchecked and all these manages would be turned on. When you say manage, you mean I do not accept that data from that location. I'm managing it. I'm in charge of it. They can't edit that. They cannot create item descriptions. So if you uncheck this here, that means you accept new items from that store. So any store can make items.
And they'll poll between the 2 stores.
Yep. There's a store up in San Francisco. They have 4 stores and 2 warehouses. They turned that function on for all locations, and it was an entire mess. Within 2 weeks, they turned it back off again.
Yeah, that is a good option. I like that, but
It's not worth that. That's alone is not worth upgrading. You'd have to.
no.
You'd have to. Well, because you could remote into the. You could just have a remote access. You could set up a remote and to dial into the store, the main, and make. Even if your office is in the remote store, you could just dial in and make POs remotely,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so no, there are better choices. That's not a reason to upgrade.
No.
You would have to explore reports because you lose the ability to make them quickly, but now we can do formulas. We can do everything you can do in Excel in reports. So what I'm trying to get people to do, and we're finally getting there, is that when we upgrade, and the one I'm upgrading right now is a store chain of stores in Hawaii, and they're like, no, I don't want any of my V8 reports. Don't build these. We're going to work on reports together, and we're going to create the reports that we want, the actual reports we want, not the ones we export to Excel and spend half an hour doing every week.
Yeah.
So that's why that's if you're going to consider upgrading, you want to go into it the right way, and if you're not, then and V8's not broke, then yeah, I'm going to say, stay where you are.
Yeah. And we'll get a lot of what Carrie needs by doing the dual inventory, which is what we're going to do in January. So.
Yeah, I'm inclined after hearing you today to stick with version 8 with everything we've got going on.
Well, I mean, if you got too many pots on the stove, yeah, I think you got to go with the bird in the hand. I mean, I think version 9 has a lot of really powerful, the reporting. I can do so much in reporting that I cannot do in version 8. I can columnize store quantities. I can create a report that says for this item, store 1 has this much on honey and they sold right next to it, left and right. And then I can say store 2 has these quantities and they sold this. I can do tons of stuff. All right, so see now you got me hook, line, and sinker. But so let me just show you one other thing that I think that now I'm building reports in V9, and I suddenly have a little epiphany, and the epiphany is that I can do math with dates. Okay, so I can take the last received date of any given item, and I can subtract it from the current date. That drives a number. Now that number is an actual number. Now then I could take that number and I could say in a little if-then statement, if it's between 0 and 6 months, put the dollars and the quantities in this column. If it's 7 to 12 months old, put it here, and you can see respectively. So now you can see at a bird's eye view how old your inventory is. By department, by vendor, by item, by style. In 6 months.
That's really good.
Isn't that cool? I mean, I was doing a totally unrelated report. I was doing a report that had to do with purchase orders and planning months, and I was dividing the data up by month, and suddenly I realized I could do math with dates. So then, as a secondary project, I built all 8 of these reports. I got them broken down by department, vendor, item, and style in 60 and 90-day increments. So once you get the 6-month ones handled, then you can move down to the 90-day increments and keep your inventory even tighter.
But isn't there a report on version 8 that you can also get that not necessarily aged the way you got it, but there's reports on 8 that say last sold.
Well, yes. Now, if I was approaching this in version 8, what I always have done in version 8, and you can still easily do, is just the simplest thing to do is just take an on-hand report, just a straight up on-hand report, and run an on-hand report. And when you run the on-hand report, the items have
Right.
to have a quantity. So they probably are 0 to 0 exclude, right? They have to have a quantity. And then what you'd
Right.
do is you would remove items that have action. So I'm looking for dead items. So I would say in here something like, give me
Right.
366 started 365 ago, and if it's sold in the last year, excluded. So that one's going. Then the same thing here in receiving.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You
So
can just create it there.
yeah, you basically run an on-hand report
Yeah.
and you exclude all the items that are happening. So if it was received or sold in the last year, then I'm going to say, don't show me it. So just show me items that
Right.
have a quantity that were not received or sold. So if it hasn't been received or sold in the last year and you have it on hand, it's a problem.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. Because I run those reports all the time.
Right. So,
I
but
don't
this,
do it that way though. I like the way you did it. I do it a little bit different, but yeah, what you did work.
well, this is nice because you can change this. You can start at a year, and then as you get the inventory cleaned out, you can pull it back down to 6 months, right?
Right. Right. So yeah, and it's basically the same thing. It's just different in the way that it looks on the report because you can arrange your reports on version 9 just like Excel
Yep.
and create those formulas kind of thing.
I mean, you could in version 8 easily make a department on hand report and run this same set of filter criteria to see which department is the worst, right? So
Yeah.
so in version 8 I could build a similar set of reports. They just wouldn't
Yes.
they wouldn't give me the spread of 5 different columns, but they would tell me what I need to know, right? That's what's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you just download it to Excel and fix it the way you want.
Yep. Well, you could, correct. So
Yeah.
maybe in the future V9 will be good for you. Maybe it won't. Maybe V8's where you need to be. I think you need to run the business and you need to be profitable first and foremost, right? That's no point in upgrading if you're not profitable. So you gotta use what you have. You gotta get your tools. You gotta get your sales in, and there may be a day when you want to go to 9, and maybe a day when you want to go to Prism. Who knows? But that's not today.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are we still recording?
We are still recording.
Okay.
It's okay though. This is all good stuff, and if people watch this,
Well, then I have a
they'll benefit
question
from
for
it.
you, Jeff. Can I ask you a question?
Feel free.
We have the 2 stores. We are going to do we're going to initialize the remote store inventory a week before we do physical inventory at the main. So we will start with the 0 inventory in that inventory bucket at the remote.
Yeah, correct.
We are going to do transfers.
Yep.
To transfer all of the inventory that's at the remote from the main to the remote overnight and start sales the next day. So everything should be good. Then a week later, after we know that that's all working and everybody understands how to transfer between the 2 stores, we're going to do a physical inventory at the main using the scanners that we get from you guys.
Okay, perfect.
Is that a good way to do it rather than doing 2 physical inventories?
Oh, that's perfect. I would absolutely agree with that 100%. So what I heard, okay, and I think this makes brilliant sense. At any given moment, all of us have shrinkage. Okay, so who cares? We know that there is shrinkage. So we have a main store, and at any given moment, it's either over or short a little, right? And then we have a new store, right? So first off, by transferring all the product over, this store is dead on accurate out of the gate. It's perfect. There's no reason to physical that store. Now, if I'm short 5 over here, so it says I've got 25. I don't have 20, and I send minus 10. I send 10 of those to the other store. This store has 10, right? This store now has 15, but it doesn't have 15. It has 10. But that shortage is there whether I whether I count it now or count it after the transfer. It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
If I'm short, I'm short. So yeah, take inventory when it's the right time to take inventory, because that's expensive and painful. So we don't want to jump to any conclusions. We don't have to take it before we transfer, right? Just make sure that in the process of bringing a product to the other store, that the 2 sets of eyes get on every transfer, right? That's the rule in web shipping and in transferring, right? Is that if you don't have 2 sets of eyes on every transfer or on every web order, then you're costing yourself money.
Yes.
You know.
Okay,
So,
so the big thing is to make sure that the transfers a week before we do physical inventory is totally accurate.
right. So one person, like you transfer it, you pack it, you send it over,
No,
and then somebody pulls it out. They look at the sheet, they verify the contents before they put it away. Okay, 2 sets of eyes, right?
yeah, but Jeff, this is a store that's been open for 18 months.
Got you. So it's
We've
been.
just never had 2 inventories. We're creating 2 inventory buckets.
Ooh.
So we want to transfer everything from the main inventory to the remote inventory bucket.
Well, all right. So knowing that now, my gut says that the smart thing to do is to take inventory at the remote store and then establish inventory control. Whatever you mark in at the remote store is the same amount you would mark out at the main.
Right.
So you could count both of them, or you could just count the one at the remote, and then take that document, copy it, and change the direction of the quantities. Right? If it's adding 3, you're taking 3.
So you think it'd be better to do an actual inventory using the scanners from you guys instead of just transferring that inventory from the main inventory where it's counted now to the remote inventory
I think
store?
that you would have to evaluate. Now, so if I was actually physically moving the product from one store to the other, and I was actually putting it in the car and putting it in boxes, the odds that you'd make a mistake there, it's minimal, but it's going to be pretty accurate. Because you scan them into the box, you put the sheet in the box, you put the box in the car, you take it over, somebody checks it, and there's a sheet in every box. Life's going to be good. So I'm going to ask you this: if you're walking around the remote store, scanning items to make transfers or scanning items to count them, which one's going to be more accurate? You're going to make mistakes in both. But
Yeah.
which one's more accurate? And that's up to you. So if you made a physical inventory, if you went in through and counted everything, right, and you had an adjustment memo like this one here, right?
Yes.
Could I copy this, right? And then could I change the store? And then could I change the quantity? So if that's a positive 112, it's now a negative 112. So you see, I'm going the wrong one here, aren't I? I don't have the right column. So let's go to.
That's okay. I get what you mean.
Right. So that would be I mean, sure, it's going to be potentially 900 items, or there's going to be 2 of these at 900 items, or there's going to be a lot of adjustments at the
A
remote
lot
store.
of adjustments.
But
Yes.
but
Transfer,
sitting
yes.
down and rekeying that in to take it out of the main is what? Is like a half an hour, maybe an hour, right? Which is a lot less expensive than counting the whole main. So
Right, but yeah.
it's
Okay.
up to you.
I get it. I think we're gonna stick with my plan.
I'm totally fine with that. I mean, you do what's the best plan for you. If the plan looks like it's going to work, then I have to agree. Stick with it. Go with the bird in the hand, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what you want to do, right? Because you'd be going through and just taking these back out right at the main, whatever the remote store took,
Right.
you'd just be taking them back out.
So if we do a transfers a week before, then we know that it's already taken out of the main inventory.
Yeah. Then that's so your plan works. But now the transfers you're making the transfers by what? By scanning the items that are on the sales floor?
Yes, we are going to. We're going to use scanners to scan every item, creating a transfer memo and transfer it out from the main to the remote.
Right. But the product's already at the remote.
Yes, it's already physically here.
Yeah. So
but it's never been in a
Its
separate
own
inventory.
basket. Yeah.
It's been one inventory.
I mean,
So a week
just
before, we're creating that second inventory bucket and then adding all of the items to it
yeah. All right. So
that are already here.
you'll see. Bottom line is if that doesn't go well, you could easily shift gears and take a physical at the remote store. It would not be a hard
Again,
thing to do,
if
right?
it doesn't work.
So I'd say stick with your plan and make sure the logistics are all hammered out, because potentially I see some pitfalls in that process. And
Yeah.
so because
I think we have those. Yeah, we have those covered. I think by anything that doesn't scan immediately is going back over to the main
Oh, that's good. Yeah, right. But if it,
to be figured out later.
well,
Yeah.
because that's the inventory it belongs in, right? Otherwise, it's going to
Yeah,
create shrink.
Right.
All right,
And then
I
we'll
see that.
figure it out a week later when we do our physical inventory at the main.
Correct. All right,
So
sounds
yeah, so
exciting.
we'll have a week to have our problem children all figured out, and when we do the PI at the main,
They'll be counted there.
There'll be zero
Click to
mistakes, right?
transfer 'em back.
There'll be no mistakes at the main, right?
No, never.
Yeah.
I had a question on shrinkage because you
Yeah.
talked about shrinkage. Everybody has it.
Yeah.
Is there an average number you see with retailers on their
Oh.
annual shrinkage?
Yeah, come on. I was in retail. I mean, I can tell you the average number is 2%. I mean,
Yep.
And we're doing 2.5 right now.
if you are at 2.5 is so average. If you're at 5% or 6%, you're doing something wrong. If you're at
See, and that's what happened with our first inventory, why it took me 3 weeks to get it totally updated. The discrepancy reports were horrible.
right, if you're at 1%, you're like a retail god. If you're posting overages for 3 years in a row, you're going to get fired. I can tell you because I know a guy that did. There's ways to pad your inventory, right? So realistically, 2% shrink is normal, and I would say 70% of it is errors, and 30% is probably theft.
Actually, yeah, I agree.
It's unfortunate but true. So if you really lock it down, you can't eliminate theft. You can try, but you're never going to get there. You can get really good. You can get it nice and tight, but you're going to have theft. But if you can eliminate the errors, that's the lion's share of the shrinkage for sure.
Yeah. I mean, our inventory could come up at 15% shrinkage since we haven't done it in 3 years. And it's going to be normal for the actual physical inventory count on Retail Pro to be off by that much.
Well,
when
yeah,
our actual inventory on our books is completely separate.
You've got a lot going on this time, so you're splitting the inventory, and you've got 3 years worth of errors that you're accumulating into one count. Yes, you got a lot of moving parts. Physical inventory is more about not making mistakes than it is about counting. So I'm going to say be very careful, dot your I's, cross your T's all the way through the process, because you are going to make mistakes. The question is just how many.
Yeah, and knowing where to find them and how find them and fix them. And that's what we need to do.
Anything you can't identify or that's a real problem child, yes, move it to the main store, but just set it aside. You can adjust it in later.
Yeah.
Don't waste too much time. If you can't get a barcode for it, then put it in a room someplace, and then after the physical's done and already posted, then we'll just make an adjustment memo and bring it in once we know what the hell we're doing with it, right?
And I can do that as a voucher also.
As a voucher or as an adjustment, either one. What if it's out and we really can't identify it, then we're just spinning our wheels during physical, and there's a ton of other items we could be tagging. So
yes.
So the only advantage to doing an adjustment as opposed to a voucher would be that I could put the same reason code on it, and then in a report area, it would merge in with that report. You follow? So the discrepancy report from the inventory is one number, but I can run an adjustment memo on that adjustment memo that was created by the PI and the 12 other ones I made post inventory. So I could get a more true shrink number. Because I found in the next 2 weeks I found mistakes and I corrected them and I used the same reason code on my adjustment memo. You follow?
Okay. Yes.
So if you're running reports and you want those post adjustments to be added into.
To be a part of the adjustment report
Yes.
at the end of the time. Okay, got it.
Then
Got
then
it.
obviously use the same reason code and have a reason code that is reserved only for physical inventory counts.
Okay, yes, adjustments are better then. Vouchers
Yeah.
are easier, but adjustments are better.
Yeah, either way. I mean,
I got it. Okay,
All right.
I'm good
This has been
at this point, Jeff. We will
Very
talk
thorough.
to you in
Well, good.
February.
That's what we're here for. We're here for, and honestly, this kind of stuff, hashing through this kind of stuff is really useful. So there are people out there that need these questions answered, that look at these. I couldn't sit through one of these, but that look at these things and they benefit from them, right? So you're not alone. The same issues you're having with inventory control, everybody struggles with inventory control. Nobody gets a pass on that. So.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to say then thank you for joining us. Thank you for raising your hand and unmuting, and I stay safe. Take care of yourself.
You too,
Okay, thank you very much and have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. Excellent.
Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff.
All right. Bye-bye.
I swear that's a different Jeff.